Is that Mickey?
Yep.
Oh, that's neat.
Got so much money.
My first Apple Watch ever, and I'm flipping through looking for screens, like images. I see Mickey. I'm like, I've always wanted a Mickey watch. I finally got one.
All right, it is 6:30. We've got everybody here from the committee and additional guests, so we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. We've got Lou's noting who's here. You got everybody, got all the attendees
Yeah. Chairperson Carncross,
here.
Chairperson Schulz,
Here.
Chairwoman Lancaster,
Here.
and Chairwoman Luna.
Here.
All right, everybody's here. Fantastic. Any public comments? Seeing nobody here for the audience, we'll move into the revolving loan fund policy discussion. And I'm guessing, Lou, you're going to be the one presenting that?
The revolving loan policy discussion.
Who's presenting that information?
So this is something that has been kind of popped up since we learned about the, that's a different topic. So right now, the way the revolving loan works is that we loan out funds for facade improvement. And as you're all aware, the council approved moving $50,000 in the earned interest off the Turtle Creek dollars over to the revolving loan fund on the idea that we would also make the revolving loan fund into interior work as well. Now, one of the discussions, and that's something, when we did some more research on it, we found out that the policies were not set by ordinance, they were set by committees back in the day. So that's something that this committee can do. And then the other part to it was that, the focus was on doing improvements along the downtown area, along Air Street. And then I think the block over in either direction. So there's been a lot of discussions going back and forth about potentially expanding that program to be able to go anywhere within the city, as long as it's being used for commercial projects, commercial, industrial, retail, this sort of thing. And so that's why we just wanted to try to get a feel for how this committee feels about it. And that's something then staff can go back and start drafting a potential policy.
So this wouldn't require any authorization by city council. We can issue the directive and then the policy be updated.
That is my understanding.
Okay.
I'm looking around to see if I'm going to get a.
I think it would be beneficial for the committee to make a recommendation to city council and city council approve it.
I agree. That's
just so that everybody's on board with it.
Yeah.
The previous policy was set actually, if I remember, if I'm correct here. So back when we had HEDC, that loan came out of the HEDC. So part of the initial seed money came from HEDC, and HEDC, the focus at that time was for the loan to be downtown Air Street and for facade. After the loan came into the city from the HEDC, we still maintained those kind of policy guidelines, although under when I became mayor, there was one or two that were off of actual Air Street within a block or so that were still kind of considered the downtown district, so those were approved. And so really what we're, it's just trying to understand how can we expand the program to incorporate more of the community, the business district, in order to help those businesses that are seeking a low interest rate loan, and expand the scope of those loans from being just a facade to being anything related to the business that makes sense.
I mean, I totally agree that having funds available for interior upgrades and interior remodeling is good. So I don't have a problem with that, because I mean, having a beautiful facade doesn't help you if the, paint's falling off the walls and things like that, and the flooring's bad. So I think interior probably would even be more important for some of these businesses, especially in these older buildings that need a little bit of TLC after they've moved in and started a business, so.
And it could be something also that's mechanically, like, mechanicals within the building, or, I guess we're looking for direction from the city council on how would you like us to expand that scope?
I mean, I know we were talking about, down the road, if we have community development money that goes unused for whatever project, like when we were talking, I think the example we talked about was the money we set aside for the murals, and then that kind of didn't go anywhere because it kind of fizzled out. For me, that would be a good opportunity to, in those situations, to move that money into this program, because I think that it would do much more good than moving it into the general fund, because it, at that point it would still be growing money. I mean, I don't have any problem expanding it as far as we want to. I mean, if there's businesses that want to use it.
Well, I know
Any
there-
business within the city limits,
I mean,
commercial business.
I personally don't have a problem with
Commercial,
that. Because, I mean, if a business is down on 173 and they need to use the money and no other businesses on Air Street are asking, then.
Someone buys bunks and they want,
Exactly.
I would make a recommendation to the committee that it must be a business that has a hard address. In other words, it's not a
Yeah.
home-based business.
Right.
Oh, yes,
Not
yes.
a business out of someone's garage. It needs to be a physical addressed business within the city.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's valid. I mean, that we're looking at rehabbing a commercial property, not somebody's residence
Correct.
that they're operating out of. So I don't see a problem. I mean, I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, 'cause I had talked to the people that own Linhart's. I don't know if you guys remember the clothing store there downtown, and now they have two in Woodstock at the square. And she had asked me about that. And I think I talked to Donovan about her. I can't even think of her name. Shannon. They were Linhart's before. It was a boutique right downtown, and she was asking about that. And I told her we did have some type of program that, because they own the building where Magnum is right now.
Okay, sure.
And they wanted to bring back a clothing store in Harvard.
That'd be fantastic.
Yeah, so I don't know. I can reach out to her again and have her call you, Donovan. Did she ever contact you?
Not that I'm
No?
aware of, but we'd
Okay.
love to talk to her.
Okay, I'll talk to her because we do need a boutique would be great. So I'll talk to her again and see if she'll, because there was upgrades that needed, and she's like, I can't right now, but
The current limits on the loan are 50,000, and it's a 5-year payback. I would recommend maintaining that as the maximum, simply because we need to build the fund up before we could, be able to lend out more than that amount. And it allows us to help a lot more businesses by maintaining that amount.
I agree. I'd like to have the money more diversified as opposed to having it all go into one business, and then obviously then we have to wait. I know we talked about like the interest rates that we would want to discuss. I mean, what are we doing now?
Well, right now, we currently offer 0%.
Okay.
What we want to do is move to at least 1% so that we're putting funds back in.
Yeah.
And at the same time, keep in mind that right now, the funds are about $160,000, roughly, that we have available, and we already have 2 applications for $50,000 apiece. So the caveat to this would be as long as funds are available.
Yeah.
To be able to loan. So if we only have, $30,000 to loan, we can loan 30, but we can't go diving into other funds to pull, another 20,000 to be able to bump it back up to 50. And then staff has been kicking around some ideas of being able to find alternate sources of revenue without having to go to taxpayers or the interest rate. And that's all kind of contingent. One idea was like to add a fee to the permits, so that as we develop more, those funds get put back in towards the revolving loan. And again, there's a couple ideas right now that are kind of contingent on some negotiating that's been going on. And once those start to materialize, I feel more comfortable coming back to the committee to let you know.
Okay. I mean,
I apologize for the secrecy.
No.
It's just those negotiations are ongoing.
No, that's fine. I'm just, I mean, for me, I'm in favor, of a 1 or 2 point interest rate, because I think that's more than fair. I mean, just
My
because,
recommendation would be 2%.
yeah, I mean, just the way the market is anything under 4 is going to be ridiculously good. I mean, you're not going to be able to go to a bank and get under 4. So,
I think you're probably
Yeah.
looking more at 6.5.
yeah, exactly. So, and I mean, when you're talking 50 grand, that's, that's going to be a significant number added on to, for APR. So I think that it's more than fair, but I do think that we should be getting something back on it, just because, we're still doing this as kind of I don't want to say a freebie, but, we're doing it out of the goodness of our hearts, more or less.
And keep in mind some of the things that we can do with it. And again, as the fund becomes more robust, you could turn around and offer like 2% interest, but we'll forgive X number of dollars if they meet XYZ criteria.
Yeah, like paying it off early or something
Right.
like that. Yeah. No, I think it's a great program. As soon as I found out about it, my instinct was we need to expand it and make sure that more businesses are aware that it's being offered. Because if it's sitting there and doing nothing, I mean, if it's loaned out, it's loaned out. But this is something that I feel like that money should always be loaned out. We really shouldn't have a huge surplus in there, because it's not doing any work sitting there other than slowly getting money. And I think, reaching out to our Latino community, there's a lot of businesses that, they're family run, they're small, they don't really communicate with the city all that much, so they may not have any idea this money is there, and that could be life changing for them, because they own a small business, and that would be huge. So we can communicate that more too.
Through the new chamber committee. So I do want to add that, these funds should be available for business attraction and business expansion, and there should be some caveats in place that, if you're asking for 50,000, what's the impact on the city? It's a lot of money, so like what Design Coach is doing in our downtown, revitalizing this old building. They're going to be a destination place for Harvard for a lot of people outside the community. I've been talking and pushing the new coffee shop to become a roaster, and buy a roaster could be anywhere from $15,000 to $30,000, just to see them grow, and create their own brand for themselves. And I think those types of things, like the mayor had said, mechanical items, beyond new equipment, but equipment that breaks down. I saw what Sam went through at Bops, where all of a sudden she had to add air conditioning, and I think that was $30,000, and that was a hit that she wasn't expecting. So those types of things that we can do to help. I think it's like 75% of small businesses can't get a traditional loan. So we should, if it's all right with Lou, come up with some guidelines to it, a minimum, a maximum. You could earn more if it is a high priority project in our downtown with a dilapidated building or something like that, or you're adding employees and so on and so forth. So not just giving it to anyone that comes, but having some requirements that hold people accountable. And also, you've got to have the project completed in so many months. We have a loan sitting out there now that the project's been going on for quite a while, so there should be a timeline on it as well.
I agree. I mean, what's your views on, like, let's say a minimum amount of time that the business has been operating? Because just my instinct is saying that, like a business should be they should be in business for a minimum of, let's say, a year, so that way they've established, they've made their investments, they've started their business, and that way coming to us where they're looking at improving the business and not necessarily using that money to launch a business. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think though, with the right concept, someone could have the right concept and be ready to make that next level, but just can't get there but for help from the city. So guidelines are just that, they're guidelines. putting it in stone where we're restricting people, because there's so many variables that come into play that I think if we just have a good set of guidelines to follow, but have some wiggle room to say, all right, this business is taken off in their first 6 months, they're ready to expand or something like that. We don't want to say, sorry, we don't do it because it's only for a year or more type of thing.
Okay.
That, I think guidelines would be more appropriate, but.
That's fair. I just want to make sure that we've got, if somebody has more ambition than necessarily, the direction, and they want to come in and borrow the money, because there's also the inherent risk, if they are unable to pay it back, file for bankruptcy, take off and disappear, something like that. So, we want to make sure that, we consider the risk involved, which obviously is part of it.
But we have to have some type of protection in the current documents we have, right? That if they default, what happens, and if we lien or whatever we would do to get our money back, right?
We have those safeguards.
Yeah, so we don't need to worry about that. I think, we need to, I don't think this is the document we're ready to do today, but, I think our guidelines would be, any commercial business within Harvard that has a physical address that's not a home-based business, right? For any type of improvement, and I would say improvement, so you can't just say, well, hey, I want you to loan me $50,000 so I can take $10,000 and buy a liquor license so I can get vending, for example, a coffee shop. I'm gonna get video games in here and I'll start making money and just pay that back. Doesn't go to licenses, it goes to improvements, and HVAC is an improvement, absolutely, or, plumbing work or brick work, or that's an improvement.
Likewise, I would suggest that it shouldn't be used for operating expenses either.
Right, exactly.
This is for an improvement
Yep.
or of some physical form
Yep.
within the business.
I agree. Having a stipulation there that it can't be used to pay for permits or licensing. Just because that's something that, that exactly, that wouldn't serve us any, because it's just robbing Peter to pay Paul at that point. That's a good one. But
Yeah, I just thought about that with the coffee shop. I'm like, well, they want to drive more business, get gaming machines in there and serve, your Baileys and coffee. That's quite honest, that could make them money. I don't know how much it would, but maybe. You never know. You take the alcohol on the train, so that can hurt you. But yeah, we just guidelines like this. So we need to put something together. And I would think, I don't know if we need to make a motion, but I think that we would agree that any type of improvement to a commercial business in Harvard that has a physical address, is not home-based, within the city of limits of Harvard.
Yeah, we could have guidelines drawn up
Yeah.
before the next meeting.
Yeah, and then we can vote on them in the next, make changes, vote on them again to the city council. So we're not, because the work needs to be done at this point, so.
and it ultimately just becomes a directive to city staff after the guidelines are put in place. We would need an ordinance for that. So,
So let's do this, Donovan. Let's create some guidelines, bring it back to this committee next month, and if they approve it, we'll take it to city council for final approval.
that's
And
fine.
the interest rate, are we doing a step rate based on the type of project, or just 2% across the board, or between 1% and 3% based on the type of project?
Well, that's where you can incentivize. If we're needing, like, say, more daycare, you can say 1 to 2% versus 3%. And again, that's based on guidelines. If it's coffee shops, we want to try to spur more coffee shops or whatever it is. That's where I think the 1 to 3% is a better window.
I agree.
With kind of a understanding that if it's just a general loan, that it'll be at least 2%. Again, we can draft something up and bring it back.
I think it's better to have a range too, just because it gives you guys the ability to look at, aside from need of type of business or whatever, but also risk assessment. So, if you feel it's going to be a higher risk loan, you could still do it, but maybe do the 3% because it's, you're using your better judgment. At least it gives us a little bit more protection and,
So it could be something like the range is 1 to 3%, but then based on staff recommendation, they meet this need within the community. We suggest this and with these guidelines attached to it.
Yeah, that's,
Will we be looking at the credit reports and all that?
Oh, yes, that's all part of, the process because they physically have to have a mortgage and, yeah, there's a credit check and there's, collateral that's, usually it's against, if it's not against business, it's against personally. I think it's a personal, what's the word I'm looking for? Guarantee. That's the word I'm looking for. Yeah.
well, even more so to have a nice solid range to play off of, because you might have a business that doesn't have a long credit history because it's a new business and maybe they used a lot of cash down payment or something because it's a small family business. They're not going to have a long history, but you know, they're good for it, so you have some options.
How much
So,
money do we've got 163, but how many loans do we have out right now? 2?
I think there's, a handful, but I don't.
Yeah,
know
I
the
want to
total.
say between 3 and 5 loans
Really?
out there.
So we do have, okay.
Yeah.
So we have more.
We know one for sure.
what's approximately including the money that's out loaned right now and the cash on hand, what's approximately our, I guess our
I don't know that
gross
value.
asset?
We'd have to look it up for you.
We can get that back.
Just so we have kind of an idea of
Yeah.
what we're working. I mean, obviously, if we've got ones that are years out, you can't
Yeah.
really
if-
consider it an asset yet. But
Yeah.
I feel like it was about $250,000 total in the fund, but then you just added 50,000 to it
Right.
from Turtle Crossing, so I think we're between 250 and 3.
If we're going to start playing interest rate, we have to, we become like a bank. So are we compounding daily, annually, weekly, monthly? What are we doing? So we have to make those decisions. I guess we get a recommendation from you.
I have
Really.
a birdie whispering in my ear that there's 5 current loans out there at $50,000 total so far.
That's it, really?
Yeah.
Okay. So we got 210 grand then, approximately?
Birdie could correct me on that, but
Okay.
50K is out there. Does
I
that
mean,
sound right?
No, it should be more than 50. We have one loan out there for sure that's already 50.
Air Street. Next to the
So
train
if you
station.
5 loans at 50K apiece, that's 250.
Oh, at
And
50.
you just
pieces,
added
yeah,
another
then I misheard.
So 410K then? Or, yeah, okay, just getting
Well,
an idea
again,
of what we're
we
talking.
can get a solid number and
Yeah.
pass it around to the committee.
I'd say
Yeah,
as far
that's
as
fine.
compounding, I would say just what a standard bank personal loan would be or business loan would be is
Then
more
they
than
can
fair.
make a recommendation.
Yeah. I
Not
mean,
for us
we definitely don't want to come across as
No.
loan sharks by any.
No, the point here is trying to help small business
Exactly.
expand.
Exactly. Great.
Tony going around collecting for us, right?
We'll send the deputy chief then.
Yeah.
Did anybody have any other suggestions or anything that maybe pops in your head that you had questions about? I mean, just want to make sure that if there's anything that city staff knows about it before they.
So,
Work on this.
as it was suggested here, staff will go back and draft something up and then present it at the next community development meeting.
Cool.
And we'll get a solid number.
No, that's fine. I'm just curious. I just kind of wanted to know
No, it's a
kinda
good
where
question.
we're at because
It's a very good question.
I like to grow this and.
I just don't know it off the top of my head.
No, that's fine. It's fair. If there's nothing else, then we'll move on to potential use for the principal funds at the Turtle Crossing money market account.
So this is where I was originally going to go in the last topic. So as you know, the interest money, the council has moved that about $50,000 of it over into the revolving loan fund, which we just discussed. There's been talks of what to do with those funds. Those funds are supposed to be used in the Turtle Crossing area. One thing that staff would like to recommend before we just cut it up is that there is a retention pond out there that needs to be looked at. And that's something that we'd like to have Gary's crew come out, give us an estimate, or take a look, give us an estimate what it would be to take a look, and then go take a look and see if there's any emergent care that needs to be done to that, which then we could use those funds to take care of.
Didn't we have someone drowned in that thing?
Years ago, yes.
Yeah.
About,
7, 8 years ago, I think.
it
Before
might
I
be
was on
close-
city.
It might be closer to 10 years
Yeah.
ago, but,
Yeah.
so you had, some teenagers were, or actually, younger than teenagers. I think they were
Yeah.
adolescents, but, were out there in like a john boat or a canoe, which overturned, and the one couldn't swim, and, yeah, there was a drowning.
Okay. Is it a situation where we should be fencing that off with the sign saying no,
I think
trespassing?
I think the biggest issues out there are to ensure that there's proper flow
Flow, yeah, right.
into the retention, from the city's perspective. In terms of putting a fence around it,
Is it always full with water, or is it,
I don't know the answer to
I'm
that.
just curious?
Yeah. I mean, it's next to my neighborhood, but I
Right.
don't ever have a view of it.
No,
so-
yeah, it's close. Yeah, I know where, yeah.
And keep in mind, when there's an HOA, the HOA in that area typically raises the funds through their dues to pay for that kind of maintenance. But there isn't an HOA out there,
Yeah.
and we
Yeah.
have these funds. So again, this just came to us earlier today after Donovan did a drive-by out in Turtle Creek, that maybe we should take a look, or have Gary come out and take a look and see what is the most immediate.
I believe, though, that the retention pond and the area leading into the retention pond is owned by the owner that owns all of those lots, and not by the city.
Okay.
So, I mean, if we were to do anything there, I think the question would be what needs to be done from our engineer, and then that onus would be put on to the property owner, not the city.
Yeah, the retention pond, and I know because Ann just sent them a letter, I think there's a trampoline that had blown in there, a letter to the owner. The bigger concern is the culverts within the Turtle Crossing subdivision that go under the road and things like that, that feed to that. The one next to Tomash's duplex, or in between them, he cleaned up, made it look nice, things are flowing. The other ones are really overgrown, we can't get in there to get a good look, so we just want to have Gary or the engineering firm come out, look at them, do an assessment, let us know what needs to be done to maintain them. Don't know if any have collapsed or anything like that. So we'll start there, and they all could be fine. We just need to have Public Works mow them because there's no HOA out there or something. But we just need to know what needs to happen there. And this is one of those things that we changed in our UDO, where we could create an SSA if we wanted to charge the homeowners over there to maintain them ourselves or whatever. But at this point, we just need to get a good idea, baseline assessment of what's going on over there.
Probably a good idea to figure it out, at least know if there's going to be
Yeah.
potentially a major problem. I mean, we don't want to have an issue with major flooding or damaging to the road or anything like that from it, because then it does become our problem and it becomes significant.
And going back over the years, it looks like that pond has held water for over a decade.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, I feel like it holds water,
Yeah.
but whether it ever dries up, that I don't know.
Well, and we talked about part of those funds, we get rid of those islands, the grass, so we don't have to mow that anymore.
So, on that note, I think the island, instead of, what I think we should do is partner with the Mayor's Monarch Pledge and just make it a,
Perfect.
pollinators for monarch butterflies. I think it's a perfect area to do that.
Yeah, I agree.
And
Yeah.
all we would need is find someone who would be a steward within the community that would be a steward of it. Once it gets established, though, there's not much you need to do because, those type of perennials, native perennials will, flourish on their own. So it's just getting them established.
We'd have to buy all the seeds and,
I think we can get the seeds free from
Okay.
the Mayor's Monarch Pledge
Okay,
group.
great.
So, it's just a matter of, let's do it.
yeah, and till it up, though, we'd have to have someone till it up and what else, plant it and water it and, yeah, okay.
It's better to look at than gravel or asphalt.
Yeah,
and
right.
it's cheaper.
Well, we could allocate a certain amount of money out of that fund to give the Public Works or to whoever's gonna take care of it to start it off and then,
Yeah, I wouldn't think it would take a ton of money to
Right.
get it going, so.
Right.
First part would be to kill all the grass in there. So.
Yeah. They'll be happy with that, right?
So if it's okay with this committee, we'd like to at least start with Gary coming out and taking an assessment.
Yeah.
And then we could look a little further into doing the island pollinators out there as well.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I mean, whatever we can do to bring more environmentally
Who's
friendly.
Gary?
Oh, yeah, Gary Roswadowski, he's our city engineer, and he's with Burke Engineering.
Christopher Burke.
Christopher Burke, thank you.
Isn't he the guy that looks like Trent from Ted Lasso? Not Trent. Yeah, Trent.
Yeah, you're right.
Old Trent.
I said that
Old
too.
Trent.
Yes.
He looks
Yeah,
like
I
old
said
Trent.
that too.
Yeah, he looks
Yes.
like old Trent.
Yes,
Not
he
new
does.
Trent. New Trent's bald.
I'm glad somebody
With
else
his
says
long
it too.
hair, maybe.
Yes.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
remember, he was here that one night. And
Yes.
I told him
Glad
at the,
someone
I
else
told him
said
at the
it,
golf
too.
outing, I'm like, you look like Trent from Ted Lasso. He's looking at me like I'm crazy. I'm like, oh, okay. Anyway, yes. Yeah, see Lou, right? Yeah, he looks like Trent.
Now that I think about it, yeah.
Maybe we can also do the pollinators on the islands out on, whatchamacallit, the road out there,
Could certainly do that on Harvard Hills Road.
Harvard Hills Road, the islands that should never have been put in.
That would be an easy thing to do.
Yeah, just
Yeah,
get
that-
rid of all of it.
Yeah, I mean, these areas that we mow and
Well, there's
and
there's no
handle for-
usage
yeah,
for it.
exactly.
If there was usage, if it was park area, that's different. It's not park. It's we waste, resources taking care of it when we really, it shouldn't be.
That's an easy thing to do.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, perfect.
Yeah. Do we need a motion for that? Okay.
No.
Direction
So
given.
we'll reach out tomorrow to Gary and get the ball rolling. This next item is just kind of a heads up. We have been working with two individuals with the soccer tournament that we've got scheduled for later this year. And during those discussions, they brought up about doing Mexican Independence Day, which takes place in September. They are very enthusiastic. It's going to require some okays from this committee, but they're not ready. We're not ready to come to this committee and ask for those thumbs up. But we at least wanted you all to be aware that we're working on this. We're talking bands being out there. This will be in Milky Way Park. Bands, some dignitaries from the Mexican consulate as well coming out. So we're hoping to compete with some neighboring communities for attention.
I think it's wonderful. I'm
Yeah,
a
absolutely.
big fan of bringing more culture into the community and spotlighting that, because I think it's one of those things that a lot of communities kind of let go over time, and since we have such a significant Latino community, it would be great to bring those things and expand it into the greater community so they can see more appreciation for it.
And the next is similar. It's a little late to be developing Cinco de Mayo. That's why it says Cinco de Mayo 2025. We want to also start essentially planning for next year to do something. So in theory, if things work out right between the Parks Department and the Community Development Committee or Community Development Department, we could have as many as 2 soccer tournaments going on, Cinco de Mayo, Mexican Independence Day, and then somewhere in there, we were talking a marathon.
So you are incorporating soccer tournaments with the Independence Day?
No,
Oh.
that's separate, but it's
Oh,
just,
okay.
it's more, where I was going with this is it's more activities to try to connect more with our Hispanic population here.
The Independence Day, that's gonna be a big one.
Yes.
So there's gonna have to be a lot of, we have to have people involved, and I'll gladly be involved too, but it's a big event. I mean, we're gonna need a lot of help with that one.
And
The
we've
Cinco
already,
de Mayo, not so much, but the Independence Day.
but yeah, so that we're in the early stages of planning. We know that we're gonna have to have an emergency action plan developed for it as well, with the population that, or the number of participants that we think will be there, emergency personnel, and so on. So yeah, we're in the early stages, but there's going to be a need of time. And part of this is also to start spreading the word that this is what we're planning, so we get a little early freebie PR.
Well, yeah, that way they can start planning and get involved, because there's a lot of ranchers with the horses that come in. You know, there's a lot of, and that way they can start planning for it. Is the Parks Foundation going to be involved?
Uncertain yet. They said this, we started really talking about it last Tuesday.
Yeah, I agree. I think that, Mexican Independence Day is one of those that's kind of ad hoc in the Chicagoland area, or kind of like, I don't want to say unofficial in most places, where it just kind of happens. The community I grew up in, that's how it was. It was pretty much just people just kind of partied however they wanted to, and it kind of got messy. So I definitely agree that I think putting together a strong focus on this to make it more of an official event really helps cut back on like the solo groups and the independent groups that want to go and do their own thing. It makes it safer for everybody as well, because it gives them a good place to go and have fun and celebrate. But depending on how, we've got the space in Milky Way Park, so I know Jay's always, wherever we can use that property is great. And that's going to be our biggest, fundraising property, because we can use it. But I will warn, agreeing with Rosa, that this could quickly become very large, especially with the surrounding communities like Woodstock, where there's large Latino communities and there's not already a large amount of independent. It's not like 4th of July where everybody wants to have their own. This is still new, so this could get very, very big very quickly. But I'm fully in support of it. So whatever you guys need from this committee, I personally don't have any issue.
Well,
And
one
what
of
they
the,
do, Lou, excuse me, but you know what they do in Woodstock is there's sponsorships.
Right.
So they get all these sponsorships. Like I was one of them, and I put country there. I had a table and everything, and I paid a grand for the sponsorship, and it was the platinum, the gold, the highest one. But they have all these booths that they bring, people in so that they can display their products.
with each of these, that's,
Is that what we want to do?
yes, we are looking for sponsors, and even opportunities, like in the soccer tournament, one of the things that we're looking at doing is inviting like the high school cheerleaders to come out and do face painting. Essentially, whatever they make on it, they use as their fundraiser. So we're trying to be creative to try to help, not just build that bond between the Hispanic population and the city. It's also to kind of encourage, with that many people, it's good opportunities for fundraising as well. So yeah, that and sponsorships, and just so this committee is aware, at least one of the individuals that we're talking to help build the Bejot Mexican Day, Independence Day, which had several thousand people attend, and so he'd rather see something like that here.
Really?
Yeah, because really it's been kind of a little bit of a desert as far as that sort of.
So he was willing to help us and guide us.
Very much.
Because, there's a lot of, that's good, because the Hispanic connections to it, what stuff they're the
And
ones
with Milky Way Park, we have the space
Oh, yeah,
to be able to accommodate
totally.
quite a few people.
Totally. Yeah, the square gets ridiculous. They don't fit anymore in there, but.
So we're not like charging in and saying, hey, all right, but we just at least wanted to start getting the word out that this is in the works.
And the soccer tournament is July 27th and 28th. We still need volunteers, so if you're not busy that day, we'd love to have you there. But there'll be kids' crafts there that the library's going to put on, a beer tent, mechanical bowl, bouncy houses for the kids, face painting, food trucks. So it's going to be a nice long weekend to be at Milky Way Park.
We estimate 512 participants between the different, or all the teams combined. And that's not including coaches, refs. So you add in at least, on average, 2 parents. You're adding another 1,000 to 1,200 people.
And Deb is handling volunteers, so if you want to volunteer, reach out to Deb. She'll sign you up.
This might be a long shot, but sometimes when city officials reach out it might be worth sending a contact out to the Chicago Fire and see if they want to
Oh, yeah.
contribute anything. I mean, even if it's just some, some swag to hand out. Maybe they want to see if one of the players wants to come out and sign some autographs or something like that for the weekend. But I would say for any of these three events, it might be worth to reach out because the Chicago Fire is huge, and I know the Latino community is very, very big supporters of them. So I know that reaching out further into the suburbs is great. It's a long shot, but you might get something back.
It's Nick and Jose who's helping us organize the soccer event. Nick is a professional refereed, officiated plenty of professional teams and games, and he's well respected in the community, so I think he'd have some good connections, so that's a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, long example, but when I was a little kid in Cub Scouts, we did the Pinewood cars and stuff, and my dad wrote a letter to the Bill Elliott Museum and just asked for hey, can you send us some postcards or something, and they sent a massive box just full of stuff to give away. So I mean, it never hurts to ask, because sometimes they might send some cool stuff for the kids to get for fun, or you never know. But it's worth asking, especially if this tournament is as large as it could be. It's great to get that exposure, and that might help. And if you're able to get somebody involved, that can, you're talking that could be bringing in thousands of people in interest.
So we're looking to, again, these are new activities. Some of this we'll be cutting our teeth on. And then we'll do like any other event. We do a lessons learned, what we could have done better, what we did right the first time, and then we build for the next year. But this is a pretty heavy push to get things rolling. But again, I just wanted to make sure that the committee was aware. And so you'll hear more of this as we move on.
I'm super excited about it.
Registration for the food trucks, are they going to be on the website? Because I have food truck clients that I can let them know now.
Please pass the word on of any food trucks. Yeah. Right now, I'm still finishing up on the registration just on the soccer side, which should go live this week.
Oh, I'm excited. This is really good news. This is really big for Harvard. It can get really big.
Going to be nice.
Yeah.
It's very roomy.
Yeah. Well, the good thing is we've done the Balloon Fest a few years. We've done several other fests and events and stuff. So it could be bigger, but at least we've got some experience with some of getting in people from outside communities and having vendors and all that stuff. And Harvard Milk Day is always a success and does well. So
even on that, and I wasn't here at the time that the Balloon Fest, but it goes back to what we were talking about during the strategic visioning. Sometimes it'd be great to have volunteers, and I welcome volunteers. And if there's a way to work it so that those organizations can make some money as well, great. But this is where I believe the city could be more of the foundation, and then the volunteers add to that by doing the finishing work, more or less. So it is a true partnership.
I agree. And the good thing about that is once you get one event going, and we let's say we do Cinco de Mayo or Mexican, but having that foundation of volunteers has your people to go back to and ask for help again, and it builds almost like a revolving door of people helping out. So yeah, I agree.
So with this kind of leads into the next one.
Okay.
So one of the things we've talked about, which is, or it's been kind of talked about from time to time, is rebranding the city. One of the ways to do that is through a new logo. In your packets were several options that we've put together quietly over this last 8 months or so.
Oh, I think Mike's going to bring it up on the screen. There we go.
From just an internal committee. These are the top two that were brought up, but there should be two more. This was another one that was brought up. This was by a student from MCC. from their advanced graphics program. And
I think it's it. So
oh,
it's
there should have been one more. I apologize.
Somewhere.
You gotta go down past the, there
Yeah.
you go. Keep going. There
So,
it is.
and that was another option.
Oh, well, it's,
So we invited MCC to come out and look. They actually came out to the city, looked at the city's history, talked with some of the residents and businesses about what their view was of Harvard. And so the last two that you saw were from MCC's graphics program. And again, based on some suggestions from our committee. The first two that you saw was actually a discarded Parks Foundation. The one on the left is more of the original, from the original. We did some tweaking. The idea here was that we wanted to make sure that people understood we're a city, not a village. That's why it says City of Harvard on the one on the right. That, you know, we were established in 1856. The cow there represents Milk Days and our Milk Foundation. The airport, so the two longest items that go on here or two of the longest items that have been here in Harvard are Dacey Airport, which was started back in the 30s, and Milk Days. So we tried to represent them, and then the silos represent, you know, our agricultural background. We in the past we haven't had a set color. In fact, if you look at one of our flags, even in here, you know, you've got baby blue, red, and a darker blue. We've seen green flags, and I forgot to grab it from Ann's office, but we actually have a flag that is more predominantly green, green and red, I believe, were the colors. So what it is in the past, the mayors have, from what I can understand in my research, is that the mayors have decided on their own what the logo should look like, or what little tweaks were done to the logo over the years. Keeping in mind of that tradition, I made note in the memo. I did ask the mayor if I could explore potential logo ideas. And through this process, the committee really, the subcommittee, the staff committee, really liked the logo on the right there. It kind of represents everything that we've seen of Harvard.
Any way you could put a chicken looking in from the other side?
Too soon. Yeah, too soon. And it's hard. It's kind of hard to tell.
Just the head of the chicken.
But the color scheme that we chose was a gold and navy color, dark navy. The cow is still in black. The airplane is still in black. The idea is that we have a color scheme at that point, so that when we go forward, we can make sure that things match.
Here you go, Charlie.
Maybe we can do a hidden image in there somewhere.
Yeah.
So you are going to put some color? Is that what you're saying?
No,
You're
these
showing?
are the colors. It gets a little blurred out by the projector.
I like
This would be more what it would look like printed off. Well, here I'm looking at that one. I'm sorry. But the idea was to go with some really eye-catching colors and some images that both represent but not overcrowd the eye.
Thank you. It's a bluish.
So
I
yeah,
like the
it's like a darker
Notre
navy.
Dame.
I like that. I like the city of Hartford.
Notre Dame
Yeah.
colors.
yeah.
So that's the one that the city, the staff recommends. But I wanted to be able to show you both and see what your recommendations were.
I'd be fine with it. I think colors have a tendency to just do strange things if there aren't a lot of rules about the colors. You know, most, like, corporations have marketing cops that make sure that you
Right.
better use the right colors, or
Well, so the city's been very lackadaisical about that kind of thing, and so the idea would be if you created a brand that you would set your color scheme, and that's what it would be. So going forward would always remain that
either
color.
through policy or even, you know, as an ordinance even, I think, right? You could do.
I think it would be policy, but yeah, I think we would create a branding guideline, so it has to be this particular palette color.
Something where it would take.
Did you guys see what Woodstock did today?
And I was just gonna
They
bring
came
that up.
out with an announcement, like they're rebranding, and like everything that they have there basically has the same color scheme.
Right.
The Opera House, the Rec Center, the city's logo, it's all the same color scheme. So it's kind of like, didn't we do a Parks logo a few years back, really, when we should have like done it with every, should have been all together. I mean, I love that idea. Brand it all together, run it all together.
I think that's the plan, or
Yeah.
at least that's what we're
So
suggesting.
the Parks one
is-
could be the cow jumping into the pool.
Well, and so by going with,
Lean into the cow. This is what I'm saying.
if this committee and the city council were to approve one of these two logos, then we would build everything else off this.
Right.
So we already have our foundation. Again, it'll just build off that. Case in point, even on, and I use this logo on the feasibility study, which is our next topic, you'll see that it has blue and maroon in there. Again, we haven't really had a set color. It's just been kind of, well, this looks good. This way we have a definite direction, a different color. We can build off that.
Well, I mean, we're also talking about repainting the water towers. So, I mean, we can incorporate this into the repainting of the water towers if we get ahead of it. So, I mean, that's,
And I know it's been,
major branding right there.
the idea of doing a new logo has kind of been kicked around off and on over the years. Again, with the mayor's blessing, I contacted MCC and talking to various people to try to come up with some ideas so that the committee could see what we're trying to go with, rather than just a theory. And then the other reason why, and it's listed in the memo for those who are listening, that we decided to go with away from the maroon color, is that Woodstock, at least until they announced it today,
Right.
Woodstock and Marengo are also maroon. So this definitely sets us apart.
And to go back to Alderman Schultz's point, ultimately what will come out of this is a brand style guide where our flyers will have similar color, or anything that we're putting out there to the public will have a similar design and color, just so that when you see it, you know that
Letterhead,
it's
business cards. Yeah.
Right. The other, through this process, we're uncovering little things like the ink that we've been using on the business card was actually a special ink. And so we were paying more than we should have. And that's the other reason why we try to go with colors that are more readily available, something that's going to be a classic and just, it'll always be around. So things like that slowly but surely align. And by the way, as I mentioned before, should one of these logos or any one of the four get selected, it wouldn't be overnight that we just start tearing down all the old logos. It would be as it's needed. So let's say the sign out in front of City Hall, let's say it's time to put a new coat of paint on it. Would that be the time to go ahead and change out the logo? So this would be a slow phase in. But things like our letterhead, we'll burn through the letterhead we currently have. That would be a lot easier. The business cards, as they run out, we'll start to flip them over. Yeah.
I know logos have to be kind of like, you can only fit so many things in there because you don't want to be cluttered, but it's like we have a lot of things in town that I wish we had more room for, like the railroad, having access to that. I mean, there's a lot of things that are high points that we want to advertise. I kind of wish we had more room to work with that, but it would get cluttered and
Yeah.
complicated quickly. But
And that's just it, because we had some logo ideas that had way too much going on.
yeah,
And even our current logo, if you really look at it, there's too much detail going on. So when you start to transfer it over onto items like, say, a t-shirt, you really start to lose that image. This is something we try to keep simple enough.
Yeah.
It should show up nice and easy. And then, and just so we could go over it one last time, could you go to, Mayor, to the other two logos? So this was another option. And again, Hermilda, or the milk cow being the most dominant image. And you notice it's still the same color scheme.
Yeah.
And then this, we also thought that worst case scenario, that this could be like an alternate. If we did like, say, a farmer's market or something like that, that we could actually use this one particularly for that purpose. Or even like in tourism brochures.
I like the one that the one that the city staff picked, I think it highlights a lot of things that
The one on the right.
yeah, the one on the right. I
Wait.
mean, at first I was like, well, the Harvard, but I like the idea of having it say City of Harvard so that there's no communication. It looks a little bit more, I don't know, has a little bit more panache, I guess.
The editor in me wants a comma after Harvard on that one on the right, but I mean, I get it. It kind of looks
Oh,
awkward
I
with
see.
it.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it looks, but it's fine. It's just one of those things.
So if this committee is, well, you've had some time since Friday to look at it. If you do like it, then I'm asking for a recommendation or vote for, recommendation to the city council for the city council to consider.
I make a recommendation to.
Second it.
Well, and we're talking about the one on the right.
The
Okay.
City of Harvard.
All right.
That one.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay.
All right.
Lean into the cow.
Yeah.
Lean in, man.
Well, one of the things that came up was that in the past, you can even see it on the flag there, it said Harvard across
Yeah.
the banner. At some point years ago, it was changed to Home of Milk Day, which is not bad, but you want that more as a tagline away from the logo, like
Yeah.
underneath, not as part, because you're really not supposed to blur them together.
Well, and anytime I mention to somebody who's not near Harvard, and is relatively aware of Harvard, the only thing they ever say is, well, that's the town with the cow, right?
Yeah.
You're the place with the
Well,
cow.
and that's very
is what
much.
we're known for. So
Let's get the
yeah,
cow on
and I
the
agree.
water tower. Let's go.
It
Come
does
on,
look like
lean
the cow's
in.
just kind of like, hey, I'm here.
Yeah.
And just because I got the same birdie whispering into my ear, one, two, three, four members of the group, 3 voted for the one that this committee recommended. This very texting birdie did not. Oh. So it was not unanimous, it was a 3-1 vote.
Well, I like the idea also though not being completely locked into just that logo, but like using that as the groundwork
Right.
to expand into, because like I said, there's so many other things in our community that we have besides just the cow and the airport, and it's cool that if we can use, like, kind of incorporate some of that into the marketing as we go to kind of put a light on that, because a lot of places people forget that we have these things. Again,
The main
we're
line,
cow.
the main line was focused on the train,
Yeah,
and that was really nice. I really liked. In the end, I loved it.
I
Yeah.
loved when we had the main line. I
Yeah.
wish we still had.
Yeah, I know.
So I'm not in the doghouse. The other thing, just for full transparency,
Well, you could add some railroad tracks.
Yeah,
there.
right.
no, we're done. This is it. I already got the
Bring
recommendation.
those tracks through.
no, I
So,
agree. Less
but-
is
but
more.
in
I
the
just
cow
want to
on
make
the
sure
train,
that
the plane flies.
Well, we could have the chickens driving the train,
There we go.
but
The cow parachuting out of the plane to land on the train. With, anyway.
but just and this is not
It's a
uncommon.
book. It's a kid's book.
Oh, it's not uncommon when you're going through marketing, that what you do is you lock up logos. So like, even if this committee did not vote, and didn't want to move any further, the city still owns that logo, both of them that you saw. And, the students, gave those logos to the city, so, the other 2. So all 4, we can use at any point in the future, but we just wanted to at least lock in one definite official logo.
I mean, I like the one logo that says Harvard, Illinois with the cow, like the focus. I mean, that would be a great one to, let the Milk Day,
Right.
committee use when it comes to marketing if they want to use that. I mean, that's
Well,
kinda
they have
good.
their own logos.
Yeah, but I mean, if they wanted to combine
Like-
that with some of the marketing, they could. I mean, I think that would also work great because it kind of. I mean, they obviously have to market where they're at. So I mean,
Right. And you got the PD, the Public Works, Public Utilities, that could also do a variation off these.
maybe we could have a patch made of just the one with the cow and have all of our police officers wear them on their uniform.
I'll let you talk to the police on that one.
Didn't ask him for that one.
Yeah.
Holy
But-
crap.
The other, and then I'll drop this, is we can also have just a giant chicken that holds on to the official logo.
That would work.
If we're gonna talk chickens.
I'm sorry.
Well,
I
we could
started
get into the
that.
whole Chick-fil-A thing, right?
No, we're, all right, I'm done. I'm done before I get beat up more.
Whoa.
So,
Eat more chicken, right?
so we'll put this on the roll for, council,
I like it. Looks
Yeah.
good.
I appreciate all the work that you went through to get that put together, because I'm sure it didn't happen overnight, so.
well, and mindful that we're trying to be very respectful to, Harvard's past.
Yep.
You know, it may be, someone new that's making this suggestion, but it's still, if you look at all the elements tied directly into Harvard's past.
No, I agree. I think the city's done a great job of holding on to that and maintaining that. A lot of towns have their fests every year, and those fests quickly lose anything to do with what it was. Like, like a place might have steamboat days or railroad days or whatever, and like you go to it and there's literally nothing to do with railroads or steamboats. It's just a big fair, so I think it's cool that we keep that so strongly in our messaging. RFP for the internet feasibility study.
So, based on some suggestions from members of this committee and non-members, I went through the original draft, and there were very valid points. So, if you notice, this is very different from the first draft that was submitted. This is more general in a lot of ways, and allows that we're not leading that we're committed to doing an internet, but that we want to see if it's a viable option. So if I'm open to some suggestions for any tweaks, and I know Charlie had one before this meeting. But other than that, if this committee is good with this draft, pending some last minute changes, I'd like to get a recommendation to move this on to council.
Charlie, what are your recommendations? Sorry.
No, that's what I was going to say. Go ahead.
I think this is pretty much done.
Okay.
And the reason I think that is because this document allows us to get the information that we need that will help us decide what the next move is. And a lot of what was in the last RFP was the next move.
Right.
It was just ahead of the game. I mean, it was difficult to figure out how that RFP would work when we're asking this consultant to do most of the work we want from the, actual contractor. So, no, I like this. I think this is the way to go, and that's why I'm here. I just wanted, since I was so, had a lot of comments earlier, I just wanted to make sure I was here to let you know that I think this is it.
I mean, I looked through it. I had really couldn't find any glaring holes that were missed that were alarming or anything like that. I mean, I've done RFPs myself to vendors and whatnot, and you could make it as detailed. I mean, this could be 100 pages long if you really wanted to get crazy. But I think that this is much more. I mean, it's broader, but it's much more detailed in some areas because it's asking for more specifics and not just kind of like general idea. So I like the idea. I really like that this covers a broader sense, but more key information that we need to decide on, as opposed to just kind of saying, yeah, it'll work.
So if this committee wants to make that motion, the one thing I will do is I'll now that we have a recommended logo, I'll add the new logo or the proposed logo onto this.
Oh, that's fine.
Looks like a good idea.
Does the logo need to be approved by city council first, though?
Well, you're correct.
Yeah.
So by
But
the
this will
time-
be approved in the next city council meeting too. So, yeah.
Potentially.
Right.
Potentially approved.
Right.
But we can put it on here, and the same as any other, if the council does not vote for that logo, we can always pull it right back
Yeah.
off.
No, that's fine. I mean, it's a minor detail, so I don't have a problem with it. I'm good with moving forward to getting this to city council so that we can get it approved and get the.
Is that a motion?
Thank you. I was just gonna say that.
Does anybody else want to make the motion?
I'll make the motion to
Okay.
send it to city council.
I'll second. Anybody have any questions or anything in the meantime? No? Okay. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You know, it's amazing that went faster than the logo.
Yes.
It's almost unbelievable. But anyway, I'll be leaving now because I just
Thank
want
you,
to
Charlie.
make sure I was here for this. It's not that I don't think that rental inspection program would be really interesting.
Come on, Charlie, stick around.
No, I
Have a good evening,
Charlie, I
everybody.
appreciate your input on this and getting this more detailed, because I think you had made some good valid points, so thank you for helping out with that.
All right, so we're taking all the money out of the road fund.
No,
Next,
if this proves feasible, I'm actually really excited for this. I think that this potential, if it works in the long term, how we're kind of envisioning it potentially working, that this could be massively life-changing to the community as far as like not only just individual homes, but I mean for businesses and drawing attention to this community. Because I've done a little bit of looking myself into like the number of communities that are moving forward with these types of programs. There's very few, and the ones that have done it smart have really, really cornered the market in their area of what they've been able to do. And a lot of them are bigger cities that are doing this. A lot of smaller cities are not, and they're not capitalizing on it. They're just kind of waiting for companies to give
Well,
them
typically
coverage.
that's because the commercial enterprises that do this type of business are going where there's a lot of business. So,
Yes.
trying to get them to come to a small community like Harvard is certainly not in the cards for the big players in the market.
Yeah.
But there are smaller players that actually could, the city could partner with. So we really need to understand from this RFP, does it make sense for the city to create a city-owned network, or should we pursue a commercial enterprise that does it for us, like, any one of a number of vendors? So,
Yeah.
there's a lot of ways to slice that loaf of bread, and we just want to make sure it's the most economical and efficient for our community.
Yeah, I appreciate this even being brought up in the first place, to get on our radar. 'Cause
Well,
this
I think
is-
we are very steadfast in our belief that in order for us to be competitive in the future, to attract high-tech businesses and provide, the need for streaming is just going to continue to increase. So the sooner we can get in front of this and get it in our community, the more advantageous our community will have over other communities, so.
Yeah, I mean, just for the listeners too, for people that aren't aware, Woodstock basically won the lottery and had a huge boost from telecom there that is potentially going to produce massive dividends in the amount of draw and interest and businesses into their downtown area because of the high quality internet and network that they've got there. But that was, they literally won a contest basically for that. So, we can't sit around waiting for, somebody to take pity on us and move forward. I think that if this does prove feasible, I think people should really be excited about this, because it in many households this could be life changing. So
yeah, they still don't have free Wi-Fi on the square, and I can't get T-Mobile internet 3 blocks away from the square, so it's not working out so well. Anyway.
Thing we don't live in Woodstock.
Yeah.
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 I guess on to the rental inspection program.
So under section 19.13 in our city code, inspection of dwellings, the city's been inspecting rental units that are of a certain age every 5 years. And in my experience, non-home rule municipalities do not have the authority to inspect rental units. And so we asked Attorney Clifton to opine on the matter. And so their office did. We were correct that the Illinois Constitution and state statutes don't give a non-home rule municipality the authority to routinely inspect units. So we're working through our ordinance to fall within the state's guidelines or statutes, where, and what it's evolving into is we are allowed to register rental properties for a fee, and any property that becomes a nuisance as defined by what we'll define it as, so many violations in so many months or so many years, what have you, will then be classified as a nuisance property, and then we can do routine inspections based on a determination that'll be spelled out in the ordinance. So if we find a nuisance property that's had, let's say, 3 violations in a year, they now are classified as a nuisance property, and they'll be subject to inspections twice every year for 3 years and be charged a fee for that inspection. And it's just talking ideas. It could be less than that, more than that, who knows. But in any event, doing so will bring us in line with the state's constitution and statutes and avoid any lawsuits in the future. So what we're looking to do, I've got a first draft of an ordinance from the city attorney. We need to plug in some of those details that I just mentioned, how many violations in a certain amount of time, how long they'll remain a classified nuisance property, how much do we want to charge to register rental properties. It has to cover the amount that it takes staff to register a property. You can't just make up a number like $300 or something like that, so leaning towards $25. And then, Mayor, would that go to administration committee as an ordinance, or would it come back here and then to administration?
Should go to administration.
If it's an ordinance, it needs to go to administration.
Yeah, I'd say that can go straight to administration. I don't think that would be.
And so there's a question, is this going to be only residential rentals, or does it also include commercial rentals?
As of now, only residential. We're looking into if it'll include commercial as well.
So currently, the way we've been doing it is both commercial and residential for inspections, or we've only done residential so far?
Well, I believe it's only been residential.
Okay, all right. If there's a way we can do it, and the state constitution is what it is, but if there's a way we can continue to, at least if there's nuisance properties, because the whole purpose of it is to protect the renter, from slumlords or, abusive landlords. So, whatever we got to do, that's fine. I'd like to keep some kind of program there so we have an idea of what's going on.
Make a recommendation to send the ordinance to admin? That's
I think this committee doesn't really need to do anything other than be notified of it, and we would just ask the chairperson for the admin committee to put it on their agenda.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. Unless,
Yeah.
Okay, yeah,
Thank you.
we're good to go.
Thank you.
New business?
I just wanted to say that, as you can tell by the agenda tonight and some of the things that Donovan's been working on, including the rental inspections, that we're trying to do things to help improve the city, to make things fair and even across the board, and to attract new residents with different activities. And one of the principal goals that was assigned to me when I first got here was breaching that gap between both halves of our city. And as you can tell, there's already activities that we're working on to do that. So I think in a short period of time, we've made some strides. And I thank Donovan, staff, and a sparrow out there that this is all happening. And I'm excited to see what other things that we can bring back to this committee.
I appreciate what you guys have brought us so far. We've seen more activity in the last few months on this committee than we've seen in quite a long time. So, my attitude here kind of goes along with the admin committee. If you guys have stuff, bring it to us as early as you can, especially like, the stuff with Mexican Independence Day and Cinco de Mayo and the soccer tournaments and stuff. The earlier we can get these ideas flowing, the more support we can provide, and we can get these things going. Because I'm of the idea that there's no such thing as a bad idea, just an idea. So bring it, and we can do what we can with it. So I appreciate the extra effort you guys have made to do that. Anybody else have anything?
Luna, do you want to talk about what you spoke about on Friday at the chamber event, what you're doing at the chamber? I think that's a pretty special thing.
What I'm doing at the chamber?
What you and the group got up and spoke about at the event on Friday.
Why wasn't at the event, Donovan?
I
No, it
apologize.
was,
My sister was there.
I think, yeah, but
Juanita?
it wasn't Juanita. Oh, it might have been Juanita. Yeah, it might have been Juanita. I can
Thank
give them a update on it. So the chamber is creating a subgroup for Hispanic businesses through the chamber. And so there's a number of board members at the moment who are Latino and they're creating a subgroup of the overall chamber that's focused on our Latino businesses. So that's what he's alluding to, so.
And I know Donovan had requested at our event at the Starline last year for me to become a member. So I will.
Oh, good.
I will become a member of the chamber and register my company with them, so.
All right, wonderful. Yeah, I apologize. I mixed you up with your sister.
Well, my sister's okay, but not Juanita.
It wasn't Juanita. Definitely wasn't Juanita.
Do we have any updates on businesses at all, or pretty much the same as last?
Duncan is going. They're
Yeah.
starting their build out now.
Yeah, they got the
so
air conditioner on there. And
got the air conditioner going. Should be going pretty steadily now. USMG are ramping up. They're in need of employees, so they've been connected with Henry County College and their manufacturing side of their school, the high school, and so that's looking great there. We're talking to a couple people about bringing a dispensary to town. Trying to think what else. I just sent you guys a big list, but a lot of it we can't talk about just
Yeah,
yet.
some we can't talk about, yeah.
Yeah. So there is a lot of things.
well, I could say there was someone out surveying Starbucks property because I was at work and there were people over there doing it. So I don't. That's all I know.
So, as noted in a previous meeting, we've had, it's been several years since we've had more than 6 housing permits. Last year we had 17, and right now for 2024, we're estimating 31 before the end of the year.
Conservatively.
So that's a lot of
Yeah.
work going on. The one thing I do want to note is that we're already generating a lot of attention, which is good because that means we don't have to spend as much to try to get that attention. And we've got people that are knocking on our door wanting to visit the city and get more of a feel and understand more of what's going on. We've had a lot more activity just by word of mouth. So it's happening.
Do we know when that apartment group might be ready to give a proposal to zoning? Have you talked to them at all?
The Lonesome Dove, or Lonesome Road.
Soon. Yeah, they've made some changes to their original plan, and it sounds like they will be here soon to make
Okay.
a full presentation.
We'll have to have discussions on Northfield and Route 14, how that's going to be addressed. Who's going to pay for that?
I think the city will pay for it.
Well, someone will have to pay for it because there's probably going to have to be a stoplight there if they move in there. Way too much traffic coming up that road.
And Luis's project?
Yep, we're waiting on a proposal from Tesco Associates to help us create the redevelopment plan for the TIF. So a TIF requires 1.5 acres minimum. Luis's project is 0.6 acres. So we had a powwow, myself, the mayor, Lou, and Rob from Public Works to discuss boundaries that we'd want to extend a TIF out to create that 1.5 acres. And we've got a rough map that we sent to Tesco, and we're just waiting for their proposal.
And the kind of the general theme that we're doing when it does come to TIFs is that we're encouraging them to get a loan, and then what happens is that TIF payment that we get will end up from us again it's an added value that they've done. That added value is what's considered the TIF dollars. That TIF dollars will be sent to the bank to pay that loan. So it's less risk on us. as well, because we've already, I mean, we're what, two out of three that we've had successful TIFs. We'd like to try to get that batting average up a little higher. And then with Luis's, one of the other things is kind of make that TIF work for you. So there's some public improvements that we can add into it to take the money off the taxpayer, or at least get reimbursed so that we can keep moving projects forward. And that's where Donovan was referring to Luis's property is 0.6 acres, and you have to have a minimum of 0.5, and we've kind of drawn that map to include areas that's been needing addressing for quite some time, but they're expensive. And again, it's to try to make our dollars stretch out further, make these projects work for us. Just another tool in our financial toolkit.
It's great news. Very
We're
exciting.
not trying to encourage handing out TIFs like Tic Tacs. That's, no.
No, I like the idea of having the requirement for a loan because it puts commitment. There's a solid bank commitment, and that means that they're in it, before they even come to us. So instead of coming with their hands out before they even have really anything going. So I think that's great. I like that we're getting this much attention, and attention draws attention. So it'll be great when some of these businesses like Dunkin' open, because then when those businesses start seeing the heavy traffic that we know they're going to have, that encourages more people to come by and check us out and get more attention going. So it's great news.
Motion to adjourn.
Good job, guys. You guys are doing a great job.
We have a motion to adjourn. Any seconds?
No second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.